All right. I think we need to get things started here. We've got lots to cover today, and I know we still have people filing in, but I want to make sure our presenters have enough time. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining our webinar. We appreciate you spending some time with us and hope you guys always find the content really informative and really valuable. Our topic today is going to showcase the partnership between Veeam and Seagate and the best practice approach to protect against malicious ransomware attacks and the inadvertent sources of data loss, and review the steps to set up a data protection plan. Let me make sure we've got slide movement here. I'm going to bring in our presenters here who I can introduce to you today. Thankfully, we've got the right subject matter experts today. With us today are Steve Firmus, who is a solutions architect with Veeam, with 30 years experience developing and managing data protection solutions that solve customer needs. Also with us today is Paul Benton, tech marketing engineer from Seagate with 25 years of experience in data storage systems and data protection software. Welcome, gentlemen. Hopefully let's do a mic check, make sure we can hear you. I know we can see you. Go ahead and say something. All right. Excellent. How about you, Steve?
Good morning.
Excellent. Welcome, gentlemen. Hey, that's combined over 50 years worth of experience. So we're happy you guys are here to share some of that with us today. My name is Joshua Walty. I'm Seagate's global brand evangelist, and I'm going to be your host for today's session. Before we dive into the presentation, I just want to cover really quick how you folks attending today can reach out to us. So to preserve the sound quality, you guys are all on mute, but we do want to hear from you. So use that Q&A box to send us your questions, or let us know if you're having any issues with the platform itself. We'll be answering questions throughout the presentation as well as the end. So if you've got a top of mind question, send it in at any time, and we'll make sure the team gets to it. Also on your screen in the bottom middle, you should see other ways to engage with our session today, including the group chat. And there's some additional materials and links in the resource list. So check those out at any time. Some good stuff there that these guys have provided for you. And then also you'll be able to see the bios of today's presenters as well. So we do get questions throughout the presentation, so I try to cover those of you who want to talk to our experts or have our experts follow up with you. We've got some folks even beyond the presenters you're seeing today ready to reach out to you. So just click that Talk to an Expert button in the upper right-hand corner of the platform, and we will make that happen for you. So finally, all presenters today have provided their slides. So the good news is all the attendees today are going to receive a follow-up communication, and you'll get directions for how to access that presentation, the video recording, all the materials, so on and so forth. So that's my babbling out of the way. I want to make sure we get to the main part of our show here. This is the agenda that we're going to cover. We're going to kind of have both Seagate and Veeam kind of co-presenting back and forth, and then we'll do formal Q&A at the end. It's on with the show. Paul, I think you've won the coin toss, so you're going to be up first. So we'll go ahead and let you drive.
Great, thank you. So I'll start off by telling everybody about our excellent EXO systems. We have a couple of EXO systems that work well for Veeam. And the first one is our 2U12. This is a 2-rack unit system that can contain up to 12 drives. We also have the Exos X5U84. This is a 5-rack unit model that contains up to 84 drives. Each of these systems can be scaled, and with 18 terabyte drives, each 2U12 system could be 216 terabytes. And with each 5U84, you can get a maximum of 1.51 petabytes. And these systems can be expanded with our Exos E series systems, which are JBOD equivalents. They look identical to the ones you see on the screen. And you can extend the 2U12 with an additional 12 2U12 systems, and the 5U84 can be expanded with an additional 4 systems. So in total, on each platform, you can get up to 2.8 petabytes of storage on the Exos, fully maxed out Exos 2U12. And a 5U84 system that's been maxed out can get about 7.54 raw storage. That's before you carve it up and make volumes out of it. Connectivity to our systems is, we have a variety of choices. There's iSCSI, there's Fiber Channel, and SAS. And what makes our arrays unique is we have data protection using ADAPT. It's our autonomic distributed allocation protection technology. It provides up to 95% faster rebuild times than RAID. It allows for up to 2 device failures per pool, and it's not a specific device. The spare capacity is built in and spread across the entire all of the hard drives in the pool. As you increase the size of your ADAPT pool, performance increases, rebuild times decrease, etc. In addition, what you can do to protect your data, your backup data that gets ingested into the Veeam systems, is that you can use our self-encrypting drives. This will protect your data against intellectual property theft. There's an option to securely erase the hard drive once it becomes removed from the system, and also to lock it so nobody can read the data. Our self-encrypting drives have been certified by the US and Canadian governments and to protect sensitive data. And I'll tell you exactly where these EXO systems fit within the Veeam ecosystem. And the primary use case is as primary backup storage. Our Exos X systems will connect as the primary backup storage, and in the scale-out repository, we can be used there as well. You may not buy our product directly. It may be indirect through S3 compatible solution. And the S3 compatible solutions use a version of our Exos systems that are called the Exos AP series, which means rather than RAID and ADAPT controllers built into the systems, they basically have server in a can. So there are 2 servers in a can that are built into our Exos AP systems. And then the third place we fit is with the Hard Linux repository of Veeam, and that's where we fit in as direct attached iSCSI or fiber channel storage. All right, and then with this, I will pass it over to Steve.
Thanks, Paul.
Yep.
So I'm Steve Firmus, I'm a solution architect in our product management group, focusing on our strategic alliances, which Seagate is one of them. So for those not familiar with Veeam, this is our second year having over $1 billion in bookings, have over 400,000 customers. And what's interesting, 82% of the Fortune 500 customers are actually Veeam customers. Another thing is we have over 200 industry awards, and one of those awards, was this year, was again our 5th year in a row in the upper right-hand quadrant of the data protection Magic Quadrant. And this year, we're actually the highest again as far as the ability to execute. Now, some of the key reasons for that is we have these 4 principles, 4 tenets within Veeam. The first one is simple, right? It just works. So what that means is that, with Veeam's total architecture, is that we don't expect you to have to be in one of those data centers where there's 5 or 6 people maintaining a backup app. Veeam is very straightforward, very simple to use and manage. Now, as far as that flexibility piece, very simple. Any platform, any storage, any cloud, completely agnostic. Pretty much, most of the data in your data center or outside your data center in the cloud, we can protect it. And the reliability, it's great to be able to do backups, but it's far more important to be able to recover them. And traditionally, most companies once or twice a year, they would do their disaster recovery tests and identify all the loopholes and flaws that they had in their solution. With Veeam, you don't have to do that. So Veeam, we have this concept of Sure Backup, our data labs, which are features that allow us to take existing backups and restore them in a isolated virtual lab, which allows you to test your applications to verify at any point in time that your backups are reliable and you're able to recover your data. And as far as the powerful, the same piece of Veeam software can manage a data center with 5 virtual machines, all the way up to, millions of virtual machines. Scale out, very powerful, very grow with your enterprise. And again, because of those, pillars, I mentioned the market leadership, recognized again, certainly Gartner, Forrester, IDC. Now, how can Veeam help you with your ransomware protection? Well, first, a little overview of ransomware, right? So, there's two ways you can approach this, right? One is you can be that, the ostrich and, stick your head in the sand and, wait it out. And, maybe, when you poke your head out of the sand, the ransomware will have gone away or won't have attacked you. It's not going to happen, right? It's not a matter of if, but probably when. Saw some statistics that, 80% of the email going across the internet now is spam. With that, number of attacks out there, it's nearly impossible to, avoid something. So for the businesses, the big concern is, certainly the cost, right? I mean, just within the last year or two, it's doubled. And it's not just that first ransomware, like, okay, I've locked your data, give me $1 million and I'll give you the key. It's the, all right, now they've given you the key and you unlocked my data. Now they're following up with, okay, well, I need an extra $1 million, or I'm going to take your, secrets and post them on the web, or I'm going to, take this data and share it with your competitors. So it's not just that once and done, right? Once they get in, they're in there pretty much to stay, and there's no guarantee that you're going to get them out. Now the backup infrastructure now is actually one of their first targets, right? So when ransomware first started to occur, Veeam had a great story and still has a great story, and we were able to recover, our customers' data, without any impact. Well, what's happening is, the people doing the ransomware attacks now are targeting the backups first, so that basically they're taking away your insurance policy, right? So once they get rid of the backups, then they know they can do whatever they want to your data, and you have no other solution other than to, meet their demands. Now, even if you do pay and they don't do any recurring threats, you still have the concern, though, that you've had your data, it's been locked, inaccessible, and in the controls of these criminals. How reliable is your data, right? Is there any way that you can actually go in and verify that they haven't changed, modified, or done anything malicious to your data after they've unlocked it to you for you? So, even when you do get your data back, is it something you can actually trust? And so that's where the backup is truly your last line of defense, right? It's not a preventative method. It's something that, okay, you've been attacked. Now, how can we get your data? As I mentioned, the 80% of the emails, spam is definitely still the #1 by far attack vector that they use. People still, get these emails. They don't know what they're, they click on it. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to my mother's house and had to repair her PC because she clicked on something she shouldn't have. And that's where that 100% accuracy is a myth. I said, all of those spam messages coming in, all the malware out there. I saw that the malware companies are seeing upwards of 1 million new pieces of malware a day. And even if they're 99% accurate of, catching them, that still leaves over 10,000, pieces of malware that are, undetected on a daily basis. So to be able to say that I have a foolproof, defense that the malware attacker will never get into my site, it's not going to happen. It's not reality. So that's where, your best practice is to recover and restore from a backup. As I mentioned, the reliability of your data, all that stuff. If you have a sure backup, a reliable backup, if you do get a ransomware attack, it's very simple. Not pay anything and just restore your data from your last good point in time. Now, we're talking about, why is this ransomware so effective? We certainly mentioned the, all the spam, but there's also alert fatigue. So was it back in 2013? Target had their big famous intrusion. They actually did catch the intrusion. It's just the positive intrusion was just buried with so many other alerts going through that the security folks just didn't have time to react. Missing patches. I've been in many data centers where, folks, especially with Veeam, they're like, well, if it ain't broke, I'm not gonna patch it or anything. Well, a lot of those, broken code, it's actually security vulnerabilities that have been fixed. So it's critical to get, all of your operating systems applications, up to the latest patches. Poor password policies. I mean, within my house, everything has a different password, complicated passwords, and most of them have multi-factor authentication. Drives my wife crazy when she goes to do something on Amazon and she has to, find my phone to get the PIN or something. But it's good, right? It prevents those type of attacks. Lack of network segmentation, right? Having a flat network, very easy to maintain, but also very easy for a malware attack to spread rapidly across your environment. Having inconsistent policies, so a lot of folks will treat their on-site data security policies the same as they do for the cloud and vice versa. Not necessarily the best case. They're two unique environments. They should be looked at differently. Misconfiguration, that really gets into default passwords. So a lot of times, I'll be called over to a friend's house to work in their environment. Their router's messed up or something. What's the password? I can't remember. All right, so you just go Google it. You actually get the default password. And so far, 10 out of 10 times, it's been the default password. So, and that exists within corporate data centers. A lot of the equipment within the environment still has default passwords that haven't been changed. And last but certainly not least is the software supply chain. As we've seen, more recently, we've had some of like SolarWinds and Kaseya, them being attacked and then them spreading the malware across thousands and thousands of customers. So, very easy to see how malware can definitely get out there and open up this ransomware attack. Now within Veeam, how do we solve this, right? So first we have the identify. Within Veeam, we have the ability to, you can tag your data, you can put localities on data. And what this does is it allows you to identify what you have. So once you know what you have for data and where it exists, and it's easier to identify what's been attacked or if it's been attacked and how to address it. Certainly protecting your data, right? We'll go into the 3-2-1 rule. But basically, this is the ability to have multiple copies of your data, immutable data, right? Having data that cannot be manipulated. So if they do target your backup application, if the data is in an immutable format, it cannot be altered. So you have that guaranteed recoverability. Talk about the detection. So, as I said earlier, backups are your last line of defense. Well, Veeam does provide some proactive alerting and monitoring that allows you to check your environment. If you see some abnormalities with CPU usage or backup change rates, there are some things that may indicate that you have been attacked. And we'll go into some of these in further detail later. The ability to respond, to orchestrate these automatic abilities, to take things offline, to send out alerts. And last but not least is the recovering. As we said, that's the key part, is to get your data back. So, Veeam has, a lot of features like our instant recovery, ability to instantly recover virtual machines and right to the point in time. We have a feature called secure restore, which I'll go into, certainly item level recovery. And the key to all this is our data labs, which I'll talk about. So the 3-2-1 rule, the key to it is, 3 different copies of your data, right? One's the production data and 2 additional copies. Those 2 additional copies need to be on different types of media, and at least one of them needs to be offsite. Now we've expanded this rule to include the last one 0, which means, the last one is one of those copies absolutely should be, offline, air-gapped, and immutable. So that way you have a guarantee, at least one guaranteed source of recoverability that cannot be altered. And last but not least, the last 0 is that whole reliability of your restores. So when you go to do a restore, you want to know that what I'm restoring is safe and it's going to be reliable and usable. And Veeam does this all within our platform. So at a very high level, you see, that whole, data anywhere, clouds, all the major clouds, software as a service, applications, databases, Kubernetes, virtual, all the hypervisors, certainly physical machines. And we have all of this in one enclosed platform, which allows you to reuse your data. Again, I talked about the orchestration, the monitoring, and doing some analytic reporting. Of course, the backups, and some of these, these APIs that we'll talk about to get in and do some recoveries. So the first part is that detection. So we have, Veeam 1, which is our, reporting module, which some of the reports, for example, will, you can configure a delta. Let's say, your CPU usage, you want to, anytime you see a CPU usage that is, 20%, 25%, 30%, pick a number higher than usual, or a larger write rate than you usually see on a host. If we detect that, we'll alert you and say, hey, something's up with this box. Maybe I'll take a look at it. Also, the change rate. So if you have, a server that has 5%, nightly change rate, all of a sudden it's 30% or 50%. Maybe things are going on. Maybe things are being moved. Maybe things are being encrypted on you. This is a way to alert you. And again, through the orchestration, you can maybe take that box offline or isolate it. All sorts of rules, all sorts of automation that you can build into it. Part of our strategy, again, is that 3-2-1-1-0 rule, as well as the immutable backups. Use those two in combination, and you have a pretty sound strategy to allow you to have protection from ransomware. As far as Veeam's backup capabilities, we have what we call the Data Integration API. This is an API that we have that allows you to take any backup or backups and mount them so that a third-party product like a malware detection or a intrusion detection, threat detection, any of those software applications can then go through and re-verify and go through your backup and see if anything has changed or anything's going on with that backup. So it's a great way. You can either do your entire backup from the previous night, or you can do spot checks. Maybe certain applications are more critical, you want to check them, periodic audits, whatever you choose. But it's a great way to be able to take your existing backups and verify if they've been messed with outside of the application. The Sure Backup, again, that's the way that you can take a backup or a set of backups, restore them into a virtual lab, isolated from your production network, and then you can again also run sort of threat detection software, or even just run DR tests on that particular application to see that the restores actually did work and you're ready to go. And some of this is done through storage integrations like snapshots, and also ultra resilient media, using tape or immutable backups as well. And last but not least is the recoverability pieces. Secure restore, great feature that Veeam has. So let's say today's Tuesday. Let's say I got an alert today that we've been attacked. I know, let's say on Friday was my last audit. I know Friday we were good. So something happened over the weekend or yesterday. So what I could do with Secure Restore is I could restore, let's say, something from yesterday, go through, do that remediation with the malware detection, and yep, okay, Mondays is corrupted. Let's go back to Sunday. Okay, Sunday looks good. So now I know Sunday is going to be my restore point. And again, all that is done through our data labs, which is the ability, again, to fire up a virtual lab isolated from your production network. Now, an example of a ransomware architecture within Veeam all starts with the scale-out backup repository, our SOBR. What is the SOBR? By the way its name indicates, it's a repository that will allow you to scale out pretty much infinitely. And how do you do that? By adding smaller repositories called extents. So, and these extents can be, direct attached, certainly using Seagate. You can have NAS, DDoS appliances, hardened Linux repository, again on Seagate. But the idea is as your environment grows and you need more, backup target, you just add one of these performance tier extents to your SOBR, and you can continue to grow. Now, through a set of policies that, transparent to the user, we're going to, take that data that's in the performance tier, and we can make a secondary copy to what we call the capacity tier, which is an object storage-based layer, again, part of the 3-2-1 rule. And again, this is where you would have your Seagate in the S3 compatible bucket. And Last but not least, we have what we call in version 11, we introduced our archive tier. This is specific to Amazon and Azure. But what this does is it allows you through policies to automatically tier stuff off to their cold storage for long-term storage. Now, this is an immutable solution all the way from start to finish. So again, in version 11, we introduced the hardened Linux repository. So that way your performance tier can be immutable. You're going to transfer it to the capacity tier, via SSH, so it'll be encrypted. You have your capacity tier, where if it's S3 compatible or AWS, Amazon S3, it'll also be immutable. And then the archive tier will also be immutable. So you can see the entire lifecycle within Veeam, the data can be immutable. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you see we have within Veeam, we have this program called Veeam Ready, which is a qualification program, which goes through and, we have a lot of performance tests and compatibility tests that will go through, and Seagate has participated and passed these. So what this allows you to do is, like a Veeam Ready repository that says, okay, if you're going to be, one of the performance tier extents, and you've passed the Veeam Ready repository testing, your customer, as well as Veeam support or even Seagate support, will know that if someone calls up and says, hey, I have a performance issue, well, it's a known fact that this platform does meet our performance criteria, so something's up. Now, if it was a non-Veeam Ready product, we'd have to go to step one, where we first have to test to see if the storage is even fast enough to perform, right? All of that's out of play if you're Veeam Ready qualified. Then we have the Veeam Ready object, which means you're capable of being a capacity tier target. And then Veeam Ready object with immutability, which means you're going to be in the capacity tier with the ability to use the object lock and being immutable. Just to dive a little deeper into the SOBR. So, as Paul had mentioned, the Exos platform, be a direct attached, perfect solution for a SOBR performance tier extent. As I said, as you grow, you can add more and more of these Exos arrays to your SOBR, and again, potentially grow infinitely. Then when you're going to take your offload from the performance tier to the capacity tier, once again, as Paul mentioned, that's where the Exos AP platform would be a target. So as you can see, Veeam and Seagate combined make a end-to-end secured solution. On the performance tier, we have, again, by its name, it has to be fast performing tier, right? Performance tier. We talk about those extents with the Seagate Exos as your direct attached storage. And again, based upon the placement policy, whether you have performance-based policy or data locality, which means that you want to keep your fulls and incrementals in the same place, regardless of which one you choose, this is the solution for you with our performance tier. And again, with the capacity tier, you want to have that immutability, and you want to have that copy done immediately, so you satisfy the 32110 rule. Now, we talk a lot about this immutability. What is immutability? Immutability is that once the data is written to the target, it cannot be manipulated, right? It certainly can be read, but it cannot be deleted, moved, altered in any way. Veeam uses what's called the compliance mode. There are several flavors of this immutability, but the compliance mode is the most secure. Right? Even a super user can't go in as root or admin and do anything with the immutability if it's in compliance mode. Now, within Veeam, and again within the storage, once it's turned on, it cannot be turned off, especially when there's data present. So if you try to within Veeam, you get this nice message saying, nope, it's locked, can't touch it. If you think you're going to be able to go into Veeam and try to delete the backup jobs, you're not. You're going to get a message saying, nope, can't be deleted until such and such a date because of the object lock. Now, the immutability itself is very, very simple to set up. Really, you just create a bucket on the object storage, point Veeam to the bucket, assign it to a folder, and then pick the number of days that's going to be immutable. So once that's done, the data cannot be altered until that immutability / object lock date is reached. And that'll secure your capacity tier. Next, we have the hardened Linux repository. So this is targeting the performance tier. Now you can do a copy job to another hardened Linux repository, but ideally you want to have this as your performance tier within the SOBR. And what this does, again, very, very similar to the capacity tier, is that using the I flag within Linux, we mark a folder as being immutable. When we write the objects, they're immutable. Again, can't be altered, can't be changed or anything as long as that immutability flag is on. Now, again, same thing within Veeam. You can't turn it on, off once it's on. You can't delete the data. One difference is that this is only as secure as your security is within your environment. So if you have your root password readily available that someone can get access to easily, they can still access the box through root and be malicious. So this is only as secure as your environment is, which gets into how we can do this securely, right? So we have your backup server, your backup proxy within Veeam. The proxy is the mechanism that does the writing of the data, reads it from the source and writes it to the repository. So that can go over SSH to the Exos array, and it's secured from end to end. Now, if you restrict access to the array or to the proxy, disable root, only allow some sort of remote out-of-band management, another way to secure it from any malicious insider attacks. Now, when you set this up, the key is to use a non-root account, and it won't allow you to use root. If you try to enter root, Veeam's going to come back and say it has too much authority. You have to use something with less authority. So, and it's a single-use credential. So once you use this, and this credential is used to set up the environment, it's no longer stored within Veeam. It's not in our database. It's nowhere. So it's a single-use credentials within Veeam that will allow you to go out and do the stuff on the Linux box for the hardened Linux repository. And again, very simple to set up. Highly recommended to always check off the fast cloning on XFS volumes. That gives you a lot of efficiency with the writing, as well as allows you to write less data because of the duplicate blocks. But as far as the immutability, again, very simple. You check the box and you sign in a number of days. Now, just some things to be aware of with the hardened Linux repository. It's not meant for everything. Pretty much, all of the image level backups, but our NAS backups and our plugins like for Oracle and SAP don't apply to this. It requires a backup mode that does have full backups. So you can't use forever forward incrementals. You have to have an occasional full backup for this. But as I mentioned earlier, this is only as secure as the access in the location is. So some solutions are a securely hosted Exos-backed hardened repository. You could have Cloudian or MinIO running on Exos using that object lock, or you can even use Veeam Cloud Connect, which is one of our gateway technologies for our service providers. That again, you can have Exos running behind the scenes. So this is in their secure location, offsite, as secure as you can get. These are all great ways to guarantee that that hardened Linux repository's environment is secured and protected. Now here we have a bunch of links that have some great resources on Veeam's site, and this will allow you to go through, check out your environment, see how well prepared you are. A lot of link on the education site, which allow you to go through and learn more about it. And then certainly we have our content library, which is just chock full of all sorts of presentations, white papers, and guides. So that's what I've got for slides. Paul, any comments about Exos?
Yep, I've got some comments on the next slide, a couple of follow-up things.
I was just going to jump in here really quick, guys, and just do a quick pulse check with folks just to see how many folks in the audience we had paying attention. So I wanted to throw up really quickly a quick poll because we just wanted to have some fun with the data protection zip code. Just let us know what you think that zip code is referring to. 3 different media types, 3 different copies of the data, or 3 offsite copies. We'll let people chew on that for just a few seconds, and then we'll go ahead and we'll display the results. But yeah, great info, Steve. Also a good chance just to kind of take a look at some of the questions that have come in. The other question that we can cover, I think, towards the end of this session will be kind of where folks can get these products and these solutions. We've had a few questions come in there. So I see a few people answering, which is great. We're going to go ahead in the interest of time and go ahead and we're going to push the answers. Look at that. Everybody has been paying attention, or almost everybody's been paying attention. You are correct. 3 different copies of the data. So thanks for that tip, Steve. We're going to go ahead and rejoin our slides. And Paul, this is where you can jump off, kind of bring it home for us, and then we'll do some formal Q&A.
Cool. Thank you. So just want to tie it back together. With some advantages of Seagate and Veeam with the Veeam backup. So Seagate is a proven company. We've got 30 plus years in enterprise storage experience. We've been making hard drives for the longest time. We are Veeam ready. Our KB article is out on the Veeam website for the testing that I actually ran. We're getting ready to run some more. And keep in mind that your data backups from Veeam, whether it be the hardened Linux repository or a SOBR, is protected by Seagate adapt volumes. And you can, in our arrays are certainly expandable. You could start small with a 2U12 and grow it from there. And we have 5 nines of reliability with our arrays as well. And additionally, what makes Seagate arrays nice is that they're compatible with your existing system. So iSCSI makes it's an easy fit. A lot of companies already have iSCSI Ethernet networks built in, and with iSCSI you could just come in and start working with it. Not all places have fiber channel, but that we also connect in through fiber channel and SAS as well. So very easy way to connect, very compatible. And we have one of the lowest costs per terabyte for what we offer. So we're very price competitive for the amount of space we offer and the amount of performance that we give you. And that's all I have. We do have some links coming up on the next slide here. Yeah, we've got a place to get more information. We've got a partner page. We've got a solution brief. We have best practices and a reference architecture. In addition to that, this could all be found on the Seagate brand portal. And we also have the KB article, as mentioned, on the Veeam website, and we'll expect more there soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Paul. I think as these questions start to come in, I think we can go ahead and hold on the 2-shot here. We do have some questions coming in. I'll just throw one out there. I thought it was a great one from Richard, who's kind of looking at the whole package, right? Seagate as well as Veeam, and just wants to know from a small to medium business standpoint, how affordable are these systems? Which I think is a pretty good kind of a high level question, but also sets a bit of context for some of the stuff we're talking about today. So maybe you could address that, and maybe Steve can chime in as well.
I don't have pricing information, but you could certainly start with a minimal system like a 2U12 and smaller hard drives. That's our entry-level system, would be the 2U12. I don't know what is. Do we have Wendell on the phone? I'm wondering if we've got any pricing information that I can share. I don't.
Yeah, he's. I know he's one of our question monitors, and he's been running around answering some of these questions on the back end. I just thought it was a good context question. On the Veeam side, Steve, we're not just talking about super high-end enterprise solutions here, right?
Correct. I mean, so certainly Veeam has what we call our community edition, which is free, right? So you can go out to our website and download it and use it for free. It's smaller scale. It's the same software, but just can't use as many virtual machines or physical machines. But then we do have our licensing, which we do our universal licensing, which it's very, very affordable, and it targets particular, units like number of virtual machines, number of servers. So, and they're reusable. So, you can grow with, a certain number of licenses. So it's, it's not a expensive solution compared to some of our competitors.
Sure. Sure. And I think, kind of circling back to this question that we've gotten, some folks wanted to know how and where can they buy the Veeam and Seagate solutions. And I think from the Veeam perspective, you guys gave us a nice link to your where to buy. So I'll go ahead and throw that in here in the chat so people have it. I'll also do that for the Seagate side. And while I do that, I think this is maybe a question for you to jump off on, Steve. If somebody wanted to know if there's a minimum version required for the Veeam product to get the most functionality. So this may be somebody who already has you or is thinking about or at least evaluating you at this point. So just curious about your thoughts there.
It depends on what you're looking to do. So as the, licensing, the different levels go up, there's more functionality. But the community edition will get you, a good chunk of what you're looking to do. And then again, with our universal licensing, you can, add in the different components that you need. Like, like the Veeam reporting, that's a separate piece. The DR orchestration is a separate piece. So, like I said, I guess it depends on what you're looking to use.
Sure.
But the community edition can solve, most, smaller environments.
Got it. Yeah, and I think, like I said, we've had some duplicative questions come in here. I think you guys can take a look at that Q&A box coming in. I think we talked about affordability a little bit. Somebody was asking, can they get this backup protection as a service instead of purchasing administrating the hardware? Interesting question. What do you say? Does that make any sense, Steve? The question?
Yeah, sorry, I was answering. I was answering.
Sure.
A message.
Yeah, they're coming in fast and furious. Exactly.
So, so certainly, so Veeam has, what we part of our ecosystem. We have what's called our VCSPs, right? So these are our Veeam service providers. So you can go out to Veeam's website and find one of our service providers that you'd like to use, and they certainly can do the backup as a service type of offering. So Veeam itself doesn't have a backup as a service, but we have a lot of our service providers do provide that capability.
Got it. And Paul, shifting to you, we did have a question. This came in a little bit earlier, but I wanted to make sure that we had some time to address some of the initial questions that came in. Somebody wanted to know, what is the difference between adapt data protection and RAID? Probably a basic question, but thought maybe you could give kind of a circle back on that a little bit from a high level.
Sure. Well, I think folks hopefully understand what traditional RAID is, but what adapt is adapt is an ASIC-based hardware data protection technology that uses erasure coding. Data is split into separate data and parity fragments, which are stored on multiple drives to protect against data loss. Adapt provides advantages over RAID, such as faster rebuild times and better protection against failures. So another difference between adapt and RAID is RAID will have its parity disks, whereas adapt, there's no specific parity disk. The equivalent of 2 parity disks is spread across the whole system. So if you do lose a disk, it could be any disk. There is no one dedicated disk. So the other thing is that in addition, you can expand adapt groups more easily and more quickly, and they also, you can expand them to larger sizes than you can with traditional RAID.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, we had a lot of great questions coming in. You had talked a little bit about the Seagate Exos, the X series, and somebody was kind of focusing on the SAN part of that and wondering what interfaces does the Seagate Exos XSAN support? I mean, we're talking about configurability probably, right?
What interfaces?
Yep.
Through managing. For management, you can telnet into it. We have the CLI. We also have web-based storage management console where you can create pools, volume pools, adapt. You can manage your adapt, RAID groups if you choose RAID. It's a web-based GUI. It's pretty cool. There are some statistics. You can identify bottlenecks. You could look at drive performance, controller performance. You could really drill down a lot if you think you might be having a problem with getting your backup data onto an Exos. But yeah, there's web-based as well as CLI.
Got it. Had a great question came in for you, Steve. Somebody wanted to know, what do you advise to store and back up big data volumes? And they're defining big data as hundreds of petabytes. Somebody obviously needs more closet space and quickly. What do you recommend?
Sure. It really depends on the data and what it is, right? So, we do have some technologies like our CDP, snapshot, NAS backup. So we have, several technologies within Veeam, capabilities that, depending upon what the data is and its makeup, could be looked at as options.
Got it. Yeah, and I think some of the other questions I think we've covered already. Had a couple more questions about Adapt, a couple more questions about kind of how these systems are sold. I did put in the chat the Veeam where to buy, so you guys can take a look at that. I'll go ahead and put the one for Seagate in as well. I know we're coming up on the top of the hour, but maybe we'll start with Paul. If you had kind of some final words of coaching for people maybe that are just starting their journey researching this whole topic. What I would say is, well, what would you tell them? What would you recommend? And then Steve will pivot to you with the same question.
What would I recommend? I think that Exos X systems are just easy to deploy. I mean, if you're a backup administrator, you need to add some storage to it. It's pretty simple to add a Seagate Exos to your system. I mean, you buy it, you install it, you plug it in, you pull up the interface, you give it an IP address, then you can manage the rest from the web. And if you had a simple system, you could create a pool and be provisioning iSCSI volumes within minutes. It's pretty simple stuff. So what would I recommend? Just do it. Buy one, plug it in, it works. And it will protect your data with Adapt. And another word on Adapt as compared to RAID. Now, there were some questions going around the notes that, what's an entry-level system? For sure, that's a 2U12. A note on using Adapt is that when you create an Adapt pool, you're going to want a minimum of 12 disks in it. So if your choice is to use Adapt, you'll want a fully populated 2U12. Doesn't matter on the disk size, but you do want 12 spindles. If you want to start at really entry level, you could potentially build a RAID system with fewer than 12 disks on a 2U12, and you can use smaller size disks and grow from there. So that would be a not fully populated 2U12 would be a great entry level system.
Got it. Yeah, that would be a good jumping off point. Steve, same question for you. If people are, obviously there's a lot to consider in today. I mean, ransomware is a hot topic, but obviously business continuity, all of that good stuff. Where do you recommend people start? Even if it's on your own site. I know you've given a lot of links today, and we'll add those to the actual slide presentation people can download. What would you say to people, just kind of coaching them through the jumping off point on kind of considering these solutions?
Sure. I mean, like I said, the community edition is a great way to start and to get used to Veeam. It really depends on your environment and what you're looking to get into. I mean, Seagate's end-to-end solution is a great way as well. Again, with the Exos platform, there's your, performance tier. It's also could be your capacity tier. So, you could start out with, Exos as the performance tier, and as you grow, add a capacity tier. It's, it really depends, what you're looking to protect and how you're looking to protect it. So, virtual machines like with VMware, we have our CDP, a great way to, do real-time protection. Like I said, there's just so many ways to, solve the solution. It really depends. And your, local Veeam sales team, would be the best ones to go through the individual scenarios.
Yeah, I think that's a great call, Steve. I think one of the benefits of attending a webinar like this is you can kind of figure out a little bit more about your decision process, what people are looking for, and then obviously we're making it very easy for people to reach out. Like I said, in this webinar console, people can have an expert reach out to them, kind of do some facilitating that a little bit more, both on the Seagate side and of course handing off to you guys. And I know you guys have all sorts of information on your website. In fact, so many, we've put some links to the Veeam website and solutions in this console. People will see on the left side of the screen. So I want to thank you both. We could certainly go on and on and on. This is a very technical topic, but also very timely. And we're really happy you guys were able to come here and share a little bit of your time. I do want to remind folks on the line that as a registrant of this live webinar, you will receive a follow-up communication. I'll let you know how to access the recording and access the materials as well. On-demand folks, they're going to be accessing this as they come through the door, so no problem there. And from all of us here at Seagate, I think that's a wrap, gentlemen. We appreciate your time, and we'll get everybody on with their day. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.